If you're someone who would consider yourself ambitious, driven, growth-oriented, or even just hardworking, I would guess your 2025 has so far felt like putting in twice the amount of effort and getting less of a reward than ever before, and you don't understand why. There are two major astrological reasons for this that are seriously challenging the hardworking people of the world, the driven go-getters, the entrepreneurs, and the self-development gurus to do less. And in today's video, I'm going to explain what these two transits are and what the deeper lesson is here so that you can unstick this area of your life where you've been putting in so much effort and getting so little reward. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Isabel, your spiritual rebel friend, and today I wanted to recap two transits that I've recently touched on in 2025 that I have accentuated are already very important, but I want to retouch on them again in in conjunction with one another, because I'm noticing for a lot of people who are like myself, there's a lot of ambitious, driven, go-getter personalities who've been really entering 2025 with this attitude of, this is the year. I'm gonna make $1 million. I'm gonna start this course. I'm gonna learn this language. I'm gonna move to this place. I'm gonna be this success in either one or many realms of their life in 2025. And yet, even though they're putting in more effort in alignment than ever before, or at least trying to put in aligned effort, they're seeing zero return. And it feels like the harder they work, the less they get. If this sounds like you, if you're someone who feels like you're being so ambitious, so driven in one or more area of your life this year in 2025, and you're not seeing any return, there is an astrological reason and a deeper lesson that you're being invited to. So I want to recap today what these two transits are if you are someone experiencing this feeling of blockage and drainage, even though you're putting in so much effort and feel like you're doing everything right. And of course, at the end of this video, I'm going to share not only what the lesson is behind these transits that you're being called towards, but also some practical tips for starting to apply this information and align with this transit so that you can start seeing more success in your life in a state of ease. Now, before I dive in, of course, before we get any further, per usual, if you want to go deeper into how to align with these transits and other potential astrological blockages you may be experiencing that are keeping you from manifesting the success, love, and fulfillment that you're looking for in your life, I invite you to book a reading down in the description box below, where in a half hour or 1 hour, we can dive deep into any and everything regarding your life and how you can use the stars as a mapping tool to help you gain clarity over what direction you need to go. Over the last 2 years, I think there has been a very strong astrological focus on pushing us outside of our comfort zone, to take uncomfortable action and to be more growth oriented, to be brave, step out of our comfort zone, do the thing. There's been a really big focus on being courageous and doing hard things over the last 2 years, I would say. And that is mainly because we've had eclipses and the North Node in Aries. The North Node is specifically in Aries from July of 2023 to January of 2025. And maybe you notice over that timeline that you've had to step out of your comfort zone and be more seen or be more independent in a certain area of your life. There's been overall this focus, my point being, on doing more and doing more courageous things and doing hard things and challenging yourself, very proactive. But recently in 2025, we've shifted into this more receptive mode astrologically. And so a storyline that I commonly see playing out for my clientele and just what I hear across the board from even friends and personal experience is feeling like you're putting in 110% effort after recently going through this phase of feeling like you've been rewarded for doing so, and now you're suddenly not seeing the reward. In personal example, this played out for me over the last 2 years of really taking action to step out of my comfort zone to try to create a lifestyle that fulfilled me, moving to a town and living in an RV with my brother rather than doing my full-time travel lifestyle that I've grown up doing, and doing uncomfortable jobs and putting myself out there on social media to find clientele and working 10 times as hard than ever before, so to say, to make ends meet and make income so that I can financially provide for myself, and getting on more planes and embracing more discomfort and up-leveling my skill set so that I can live the lifestyle I want. And that has been a way of being that has been rewarding for me for the last 2 years. So my brain went, okay, so I must be doing something right. And I've been trying to push myself over this year in realms of career, relationships, friendships, travels, and so much more to achieve my desires. And now it feels like there's been an Uno reverse, so to say, and this is no longer serving. It's no longer working. It feels like I'm doing the exact same thing and not getting the same result as I was before. Does this sound like you? Drop a comment down below if so. I realized, at least for my clientele, and now I'm seeing for myself more and more, that there is a reason based off of my studies of astrology. In 2025, we have had 2 major planetary shifts, amongst many, I will say. There's other things going on astrologically outside of this, but there are 2 that are really bringing in this storyline of the era of softening. You already probably know which transit I'm going to be talking about here if you have heard that phrase mentioned by me before. And also this idea of doing less. And there's 2 planetary transits, like I said, that are bringing this up, that are really calling us to this idea that while there is a time and place to step out of our comfort zone and do hard things, now we are being called to understand that we don't have to do more to get more. And I'm going to go even deeper into this, but there's 2 planetary reasons for this feeling if you're someone feeling this way. And so understanding these 2 transits, and then we can go into, of course, practical application, will help you understand why you're feeling the way you are right now and why specifically this isn't working for you. Because if you're hitting roadblocks, there is a reason. There's an invitation from the universe. One of the 2 transits that is the reason for this, so to say, lack of reward for our efforts has to do with the South Node entering Virgo. The South Node entered Virgo, the North Node entered Pisces as of January 11th of 2025. The South Node is where we're cleansing, purging, and detoxing. We're letting go of traits that no longer serve us in a certain area of life. Virgo is known for being hardworking, selfless, and action-oriented to the point of perfectionism or burnout. If you have any major Virgo placements, I'm sure this very much resonates for you, but you don't have to have Virgo placements to feel this transit. Everyone's experiencing this. We are collectively being called with the South Node in Virgo to let go of the overworking, overly selfless, overly materialistic traits and qualities that are no longer serving us. And we're being called to step in to the North Node in Pisces traits, Piscean traits of trust, surrender, and energy. A very spiritual dynamic that is also presented with the South Node being in Virgo and the North Node in Pisces is the idea of manifestation. Virgo sees that to achieve anything they desire, they have to put in a lot of effort, as they are an earth sign that is so focused on the details, that is ruled by Mercury. Whereas Pisces sees that the best way to get anything they want and to give something to someone is through energy. Pisces, with the North Node being here, is calling us to embrace manifestation and do less. And so with the South Node in Virgo right now, as of January 11th of 2025, we are destined, so to say, to have experiences where we're gonna see that our effort does not equal an equal reward, so that we feel called and start to shift into more Piscean energy of trust, surrender, and energetic alignment. It's truly the idea of doing less. We are collectively learning to prioritize our spiritual, emotional health and focus more on our faith and trust so that we can be energetic attractors in a high vibrational frequency rather than constantly putting in effort to burn ourselves out. And again, this is new to this year. So if you feel like, for one, you've been putting effort in and not getting reward in a certain area of life, that is because the South Node is in Virgo and it's calling us to let go of these traits. And the best way that the universe thinks to call us to let go of these traits is by giving us less reward for our efforts. Instead, I will talk about at the end of this video how you can step into the North Node in Pisces and get this reward. But there's also a second transit that really accentuates this theme of doing less and receiving more. And that is Jupiter entering Cancer as of June 9th of 2025. With Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, we are experiencing an expansion in our abundance, both financial, material, metaphysical, all forms of abundance, the more we embrace emotional security, emotional nurturance, and softening. Hence why I call this the era of softening. And so Jupiter will be in Cancer for a year. until July roughly of 2026. And as a note, since I didn't mention it, the North Node and South Node will be in Virgo and in Pisces until July of 2026 as well. So technically, the North and South Node have an 18-month transit, whereas Jupiter has a 12-month. But regardless, they both are present here in 2025 as of the filming of this video, which really accentuates this idea overall combined of doing less and receiving more. Jupiter wants to bring us expansion. It wants to expand our fulfillment in a certain area of our life. Whatever sign Jupiter's transiting tells us what energies to reach into and learn about to expand our capacity to receive. Jupiter is a very beneficial planet. It's known as a, how is it pronounced? A benefic? I don't know, guys. It's been a long morning. It's been a long day. But point being with Jupiter in Cancer, what it's inviting us is, as opposed to its previous cycle in Gemini, which is much more about being rapid fire and high energy and doing more and putting more out there and listening more to and handling more stimulus to receive abundance. This is a very big dramatic shift of softening. Cancer feels their feelings. That is simply their nature and their highest priority. And so Jupiter being in Cancer is calling us to expand our capacity to receive by getting us more in touch with our feelings. Has anyone, out of curiosity, felt more emotional since Jupiter entered Cancer June 9th? I wouldn't be surprised if my fellow water moons have been feeling more emotional or sensitive since then. Or anyone who has any major Cancer placements, have you felt more sensitive since June 9th? Jupiter in Cancer calls us to soften to receive, to accept and open ourselves up to receive nurturance and support. And the way it does that is by bringing us lessons and challenges that require us to soften. I think for many people, Jupiter in Cancer has brought more stillness to their life, where it feels like you can't go and grab things. Instead, you have to wait for it to come to you. Jupiter in Cancer also emphasizes, simply put, that the more we focus on following our feelings, the more we receive. And so, simply put, to recap that, if you feel like you've been putting the effort in and not seeing a reward in a certain area of life, that is because Jupiter's in Cancer saying the only way to get to abundance right now, or the best way to get to abundance right now, is through focusing on your feelings. And so if you are pushing a boulder uphill in your work, in your relationships, in your health, and you feel like you're having to work hard and do stuff out of alignment, if you're setting your alarm for 5 a.m. to get that morning run in and it feels awful and you'd rather just feel like you'd sleep in, that is because Jupiter's in Cancer and you're being called to soften rather than do more. And this feels so counterintuitive to us, to modern day society, where we are taught to be so Virgo and taught to be so Capricorn in many ways. Focus on success, do more, be disciplined, strive for more, put more in your calendar, set your alarm earlier and earlier. The amount of biohackers that I see that say everyone needs to set their alarm for 4 a.m. is crazy. It's not the case for everyone. Great for some people, but with Jupiter in Cancer right now in the North Node in Pisces, we're realizing that that's not the case for everyone. So again, if you feel like you've been pushing a boulder uphill, nothing's working, these are the two astrological reasons why. Now, what is the invitation of these transits? How can you unstick these areas of your life and start receiving the abundance and results you're looking for in these areas of life? I want to take the last few minutes of this video to recap and go deeper into what exactly you are being called to do rather than why it isn't working so far. In the end, with the North Node in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer combined, we have two water signs active here. And so above all else, the simplest advice I would give to those who feel like they haven't been seeing the results they want in 2025 in a certain field of life is prioritize your feelings. Prioritize your emotions, specifically emotions such as nurturance, or themes just as nurturance, support, trust, faith, and surrender. I cannot think of a better list of words there to prioritize with the North Node in Pisces and with Jupiter in Cancer. And again, this is also not just advice that I give from a spiritually idealistic point of view. This is stuff I have personally noticed in my own life as of 2025. Let me tell you, I'm a Mars in Gemini. I'm extremely hardworking. I have a midheaven in Virgo. I think that putting in more effort and being as selfless as possible is the way to be successful. And I have my Chiron in Capricorn. So the idea of hard work and hard effort to get what you want is something I'm very familiar with, to the point where I will probably overwork myself every day and then lay in the fetal position because I burnt myself out. My poor projector spirit still dislikes me for that. We're working on it. And I've noticed over this year, I have quite literally had to set boundaries with myself, make more time for meditation, make more time for morning routines, and really focus on getting into alignment before I do any work and doing less. And I have seen more reward. In one specific example, back in April, I was not really prioritizing that much work. I had very few clientele and only a couple of workshops. I think only like 1 or 2 workshops scheduled for the entire month. And I, to some degree, felt like, wow, this is so immature of me. This is so unsuccessful or not success oriented, but I was making time for friends and trying to prioritize my passions in my life. And so I decided it's fine. Like, we're just gonna do less. I ended up hosting a workshop that ended up pretty much flopping in my view because I only had 3 people show up, 5 people, 2 of which were not paying because they were family friends, and that was wonderful of them to show up and support. But nonetheless, I put out all this material on marketing and all this effort, and I only saw 3 people. But as much as I could have taken that as a loss, I instead decided to just show up and try to provide as much help in an intentional way to these 3 people, trying to connect with them like a human being. And I just relaxed, I had fun with it, and I just shared it like I was talking to friends. And one of the ladies was so inspired afterwards that months later, she reached out to me and asked me to do a high-ticket workshop for her entire team. It was one of my biggest sales I've ever had, probably in the last 3 years. And it came from a place of me surrendering, trusting, and just focusing on showing up with emotional honesty and intention. I think this is a perfect example of what we're being called to do with this North Node in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer. You're not going to see the path. You're not going to know the path. The water's flow and direction is always changing. The universe just wants you to surrender to it. So really ask yourself with these transits, if you've been pushing a boulder uphill, if you're not seeing the results you want for your efforts, know, first of all, that you are being called to practice trust, faith, surrender, emotional nurturance, emotional support, prioritizing your feelings, and sharing your feelings. Secondarily, within those themes, I think one of the most important questions people can ask themselves right now is, what does trust mean to you? What does trust look like? Because trust is one of those words that gets really thrown around in astrology, numerology, in spirituality. And I don't think a lot of us have a good grasp on what trust means or what trust feels like. We especially think of it in terms of trusting a person. And usually that actually, when we try to practice trust with a person, it usually just ends up triggering fear, which is not the energy of trust. So try to focus with this time in this year on how you can prioritize your emotional well-being and practice more trust, faith, and surrender, and what that looks like. How can you be more intentional with the things you do and really step into doing less? I know it's so uncomfortable. I still am navigating this. We're all navigating this together. And I'm sure that the second you start doing so, you're going to start seeing more reward. And final note with that, on the idea of trust. Trust is really, for one, a feeling of a regulated nervous system. It's a state of ease and calm. When you feel trusting around you, when you feel like you can trust the people around you, trust your environment, relax, that is a mode of softening. That is a calm nervous system. And for that reason, your nervous system is your moon sign. Your moon sign is your nervous system. I did create a post on this that is on my post feed that you can learn more about that as well. But I do recommend learning about your moon sign for that reason and accentuating that with Jupiter currently in Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon. And so learning about our moon sign and aligning to our moon sign and prioritizing our moon sign in our daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly life is something that can really help us move this needle forward and start to see in a very non-linear way success in our relationships, in our career, in our health, and so much more. So I do encourage everyone to learn about their moon sign, to really take time to study and contemplate it, and ask yourself how you currently go about prioritizing this emotional need in your life, and if you could make more space to feel your feelings, regulate your emotions, regulate your nervous system, and come into a state of more calm and emotional fulfillment. So I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Does this really clarify what you've recently been feeling? Are you someone who feels like they've been putting in a lot of effort this year, not seeing the reward? Did this give you a better understanding of why you are at where you're at in life? Does this help give you guidance going forward? Is this even relevant to you? Let me know your feedback and thoughts down in the comments below. I love being able to provide helpful support to this community. And so I would love to hear where you are struggling and what you need guidance on next. And if you want to go deeper into what exactly the stars are specifically inviting you to do, then I invite you to book a reading. The link is in the description box below. I'll hopefully remember to put it in the card up above as well. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Once again, my name's Isabel, and from my heart to yours, namaste.